All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barakateh Hawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Various Topics. And pretty much, this is Various Topics dated January 22nd, 2021, the year of hastening the coming of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And pretty much I just have a few articles, few points to make, just say a few things to keep you abreast of what's going on, which brothers already know. Brothers are constantly doing videos on the news and things that are happening around the world. And brothers should know that the so-called New World Order, New World Agenda, whatever you want to call it, is going to be a worldwide thing. And this is why you are noticing a lot of different situations that pretty much parallel each other happening worldwide. Because it's a new world order or one world agenda, which is going to fail miserably. And pretty much what you see in front of you is just some National Guard troops that were at the White House prior to this inauguration, which when you deal with inauguration, that's going into the taking of the omens, or pretty much witchcraft, passing the demons from one demon to another, pretty much. Every time the president and their cabinet gets in there, they're inspired by spirits on the left-hand side, as is spoken about in the book of Isaiah, the 47th chapter, and others. This is the mistress of witchcraft, the master of witchcraft, because they've incorporated all facets of society and all their different magic arts and their different incantations, the different worships of the gods and goddesses into one. And this is why this place is known as Babylon the Great. Let's go real quick to the book of Revelation 17 and 5. It says, "And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, which is the greatest conglomeration of confusion, the mother of harlots, because they allow any and everything to be worshipped in this society." As we speak, one of the very first things that Joe Biden did was pass legislation to protect the LGBTQXYZ, the alphabet people, so that's something that's being pushed hot and heavy, the first order of business, which this devil, swore in on the Bible, right? Let's see. Joe Biden, creepy sleepy Joe. Let's see what comes up. There we go. Creepy sleepy Joe. What does he do? He swears in on the Bible. You can see it right there. Okay? And what does he do? The very first act is something against the scriptures. That's why it says, "Let favor be shown to the wicked, yet will they not learn righteousness." So the mother of harlots, because they pretty much lay down with all these different philosophies. You could worship whatever you want to worship here. Anything newly come up, you want to worship it, go to America, you could worship it. It says, "and abominations of the earth," because the abominations of the earth are everything wicked. Beginning with that same sex, man on man, woman on woman, eating of debaucherous foods, crabs and snow crabs and lobsters and, you name it, pork and, all of that nastiness, that they are pushing out there. So read it again. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And all of these three titles pertain to America. When you jump to the first verse, it speaks about matter of fact, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. So America is also compared to a great whore. The many waters are a representation of peoples and nations and tongues. And when we jump down to the 18th verse, and the woman which thou sawest, which is that great harlot, is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Now, the Roman Catholic Church does not reign over the kings of the earth. America reigns over the kings of the earth. And this is why they have come to this country to become rich. And when you read the very next chapter, it speaks about the judgment and destruction of Babylon the Great, which is America, and how the merchants and those that were made rich by reason of their ships, by reason of their costly wares, would bewail this place once it's destroyed, because they know they won't be able to make any more money. So there you go. He swears it on the Bible, and the very first act he does is pass legislations of abominations. All right. So now let's move on. We showed you the National Guard troops that were at the White House in case of martial law, which when it didn't happen, I was saddened. You know, I was choked up a little bit. You know, I was hurt. You know, I watched a little bit of the inauguration brother sent me, and I watched this skeezer right here, Jennifer Lopez, sing that song America. You know, and it brought a lot of sadness to my heart, because, you know, they were rejoicing. But Yahushua said that, you know, the world shall rejoice and you shall mourn, but your mourning shall be turned into joy. You know, so this place is still going down, because when things don't happen the way we, you know, hope or hasten, you know, it's still all in the plans of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, because man's goings are of the Lord. You know, it doesn't matter if they so-called alter a plan. The alteration of a plan is of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Let's see if I can find this one precept. No, Kings. There's two of them. Okay, just bear with me 1 second. If I can't find this one, then I'll just go to the other one. All right, this is Proverbs 16:1. The preparation of the heart in man, and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. So everything that happens because the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai seals that instruction in their mind. Let me see if I try this one. Nope, that's not it either. Let me just try King, which I know is going to come up a lot of times. Proverbs. Just bear with me 1 second. One more thing. Let me try one more. That's a good one, Charles. I was thinking about that one. The brother GMS Saints of the Most High. I'm going to get that one, Lord's will. Just bear with me 1 second, because this one also cements. I know it's in Proverbs. Something along the lines that the king's heart is in the hands of the Lord, or something like that. But I'll read the one that the brother Jeremiah, Saints of the Most High, put up. This is Job 33:14-15. For the Most High speaketh once, yea twice, yet man perceiveth it not. In a dream, in the vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, and slumberings upon their bed. Then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instruction, that they may withdraw man from his purpose, and hide pride from man. And that's it right there. The brother put it up. Warrior for Yasha Allah. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. That's right. It says, every way of man is right in his own. Let me see. Every way of man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the hearts. That's where the Lord tries the hearts and the reins. That beautiful. That was it. That was the one. A couple of brothers put it up. All right, so let's go back to this skeezer here. You know, like I said, I was taking it back, and she was singing her heart out. She can't sing really, but she was singing her heart out for that bullshit, America crap. More draconian legislation going on in Spain. The silence of the trams. Barcelona communities told not to talk to avoid spreading the C19. All right. So now when you go on the trains or you in travel, there's no talking. So more and more is just pretty much, silence. Draconian legislation. Here we go. Tren del silencio. That's train of silence. You heard of Terror Train? Those of you brothers that are a little older, back in the days with Jamie Lee Curtis. Well, this is Silence Train. You can't speak. They're giving out fines out in England and different places for breaking or going against these rules, which were supposed to be, voluntary, but now they're making them what? They're making them mandatory, because that's how it is when they're pushing their agenda. At first is voluntary, then eventually it becomes mandatory, and this is where the draconian legislation comes in. Isaiah 10:1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside of the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. And this is why they only want two classes, as they had in ancient Rome. You had the plebeians and you had the patricians. In America, and in the world pretty much right now, you have the super rich and you have the poor. And this is pretty much how they want it, because they want every individual that is not inside of that club, of the international banking families, to be dependent on them, solely on them. That's why they're pushing the Most High out of the way. They're pushing the Bible out of the way. They're making mockery and casting doubt upon the scriptures, because they're trying to move the Most High Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shai out of the way, and insert themselves in the place of the Most High. This is why, as we go over and over again from time to time, Micah 2:1, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. And the word power there is Allah, or Allah, which is God, so-called God. So they have that God-like power in their hand, because the earth was given into their hands, and the Lord set them up over it. And they're pushing their form of what they see for their future. And every time you every day that goes by, every week that goes by, every month that goes by, every year that goes by, you see more and more the world resembling what is shown in these futuristic movies, of total control of the people. You can't think for yourself. You can't speak unless you're told to speak. You have no rights except for the rights that the government gives you. A total dystopian society. Which leads me to Operation Warp Speed. Operation Warp Speed is a public-private partnership initiated by the U.S. government to facilitate and accelerate the development, manufacturing, and distribution of C-19Vs, therapeutics and diagnostics. The first news report of Operation Warp Speed was on April 29th, 2020, a few days before May 1st. And that's one of the main times when they push, a lot of different things, whether it's legislation or certain destructions or certain calamities on the earth to push forward their agenda. And this is why we read in the book of Psalms, the 64th chapter, about the secret counsel of the wicked, and how they do things in secret. And the program was officially announced on May 15, 2020. I'm sorry. May 15, 2020. It is headed by co-chair of the Crown 19 Advisory Board, David A. Kessler. The program promotes mass production of multiple Vs and different types of V technologies based on the preliminary evidence, allowing for faster distribution if clinical trials confirm one of the Vs is safe and effective. The plan anticipates that some of these Vs will not prove safe or effective, making the program more costly than typical V development, but potentially leading to the availability of a viable V several months earlier than typical timelines. Operation Warp Speed initially funded with about $10 billion from the CARES Act, CV Aid, Relief and Economic Security, passed by the United States Congress on March 27th, is an interagency program that includes components of the Department of Health and Human Services, including Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Food and Drug Administration, which makes me think of that series Utopia, where they had a V, so-called, that really didn't work, that was really going to mess the people up. And according to them, the FDA was holding up progress of allowing the people to get those jabs in their arms. It says the National Institute of Health and Biomedical Advanced Research and Developmental Authority, BARDA, the Department of Defense, private firms, and other federal agencies, including the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Energy, and the Department of Veterans Affairs. Then it goes into the history, breaks it down, goals, and then it goes into budget and leadership, companies receiving research funding. And you see here Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Moderna, Novavax, Merck and IAVI, Sanofi, GlaxoSmithKline, and so on and so forth. Companies now receiving research funding is Pfizer, but all of these are receiving billions of dollars to develop and expedite the development of this V or these Vs. And they give you a breakdown of all of the funding they receive from the government. So they're pushing that thing hard. And what they're doing is slowly but surely they're putting that grip on people with that draconian law, to where if you break these laws that were at one time voluntary, now they're making them mandatory. And if you break those laws, what happens? You have to pay penalties. You have to get locked up. But this is why the NDAA is finally passed, which is, indefinite detention if they deem you a terrorist. And that's why they keep pushing out things of the nature of not bioterrorism. I forget the term right now. It escapes me. Like national terrorism or something like that. There's another term for it. I can't think of it right now. Which leads me to this article here from Blacklisted News, which came from a woman named Caitlin Johnstone. And she has a thing that she writes, And I'm really not really concerned too much about what she's saying, but there were some facts that she posted that I wanted to kind of read real quick. Patriot Act 2, the boot is coming down hard and fast. All right, and then those of you that have watched the movie 1984, you know, they in there, Richard Burton had said, you know, the future is like a boot stamped upon your face forever. And that's pretty much what it is. That's that hard hitting, pipe hitting, yeah, domestic terrorism throughout it, brother. Hard hitting, pipe hitting, draconian legislation. You know, which Spirit's been having us go over a lot, is in the book of Revelation 13 and 11, where it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, which is America, and had two horns like a lamb, which is their two parties, the Democrats and Republicans, and he spake as a dragon. And what is that? What is it speaking as a dragon speaking about? It's speaking about the legislation that they're passing. And remember, this is a worldwide event. This is not just something that's happening in America. This is not just something that's happening in Spain or in England. This is a worldwide event, and everything is trickling from one country to the next, from one continent to the next. And this so-called crisis, the Crown 19, has been a very effective way where they can actually expedite their new world order. Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So this is a worldwide event that's going to take place, because when you go into this word world, which is important to go into these different words, because you could look up the word world from Genesis to Revelation, and they'll have different meanings depending on what the Hebrew or the Greek word is. So when we look up this particular word here, world, it goes into the Greek oikomene, which oikomene means the inhabited earth. They applied it to the portion inhabited by the Greeks. In other words, like they had control of the known world back then, because certain parts of the world had not been colonized or had not been, for lack of better words, domesticated. Which that's not really a good word, but for lack of better words. Also the Roman Empire and all the subjects of the empire, because they had conquered the known world at the time. But it really encapsulates the whole inhabited earth, the world, the inhabitants of the earth, men, the universe. It doesn't have nothing to do with the universe, the world, the inhabited earth. Another term is gay, or where you get the word geo, which is also earth. Like you have the word geography. The word geography, geo, is earth, and graph or graphy is the writings. So the writings of the earth put down on paper, and drawn out to specification of the land masses, the borders, the names of the different cities and countries and towns and villages, so on and so forth, different bodies of water, and that's what's going down. So now that this brother put this scripture up, GMS Saints of the Most High, I'm going to read that. I'm feeding off of you, brother's spirit today. Barakateh Bashim Al Shai. 2 Ezra 15:5, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So it's upon the world. And we know that this world is governed by Esau. This is his age. It says, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. And this is why the Most High Yahweh is visiting this place with plagues. But before he visits this place with plagues, what he's doing is he's first visiting it by way of the prophets. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 8, just straight to the point. It says, and then shall that wicked be revealed. So we're in the revelation part of this devil, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. So what is the spirit of the Lord's mouth? His words, which are spoken by his prophets. And after there's a certain amount of exposure, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So going back to the brother, the next verse, The 49th, or actually jumping down to the 49th verse, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence to waste thy houses with destruction and death, because that's what's coming. Destruction and death. And it's moving in that direction. So the more that these devils do, the more that the Lord is bringing their kingdom to a close. Remember what the Lord said to Belshazzar, that their kingdom was weighed in the balance, and the days pretty much were numbered. The brother Jeremiah Hezekiah, Isaiah 13:11, and I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. And the terrible is Esau. We read about the violent man in Psalms 40th chapter, in the lesson we did yesterday. Now jumping to another scripture, the brother Jim Saints of the Most High put up, 2 Ezra 15:7-8. Therefore, saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. Yeah. So this is the attitude that we should have. We should be in the complaining to the Lord to get this devil out of here, which goes into what? Hastening the day, which goes into the naming of the year, the motto for the year, or the mantra for the year, which is 2021, coined by Elder Apostle Tar through the Spirit, the year of hastening of the coming of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. The brother warriors for Yasha Allah, Revelation 6:8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death. And hell followed with him, and power was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. And that's going into the very end, of the destruction. But when you read up above that about the black horse, that's really coming into this great famine and the great distress that's going to take place on this planet. It's going to be very devastating. And the only ones that will be protected are the elect of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, of the nation of Israel. All right. So, going back to this, Patriot Act 2, the boot is coming down hard and fast. I want to just go straight to this point here. This was because most of the work had already been done. CNET reported the following back in 2008. So this, what is about to read, is something that goes back to 2008. And those of you brothers remember, back then there was a real bad economic bad economic woes that happened back then. And they were pushing hot and heavy, man, all of this legislation. Because prior to that, you had different so-called terroristic acts taking place in America, and the Oklahoma bombing back in '95, and so on and so forth. '93, they so-called tried to blow up, the World Trade, with a van that had some explosives in it, and then 2001, they so-called, planes hit it and they brought it down, and that led the way for all of this legislation to pass. And like the brother GMS Saints of the Most High said, housing market crash. That was the housing market crash that happened in 2008. And I remember, because Apostle Gabar and myself, we had a hard time finding work, and we had our own business, and that went under because, there was a lot of economic woes back then. So it says, months before the Oklahoma City bombing took place, then Senator Joe Biden introduced another bill called the Omnibus Counterterrorism Act of 1995. It previewed the 2001 Patriot Act by allowing secret evidence to be used in prosecutions, expanding the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act and wiretap laws. And remember, this is the same dude when they were swearing in Chief Justice, what was his name? Chief Justice, forget his name. Chief Justice something. He told him, you're gonna rule on if there would be a microchip actually implanted into someone. And here it is years later, this same devil, creepy sleepy Joe, is in office. He's the president now. The same individual that said that. So he has, the so-called power now to push legislation for this. Draconian laws, man. Draconian laws, baby. It says creating a new federal crime of terrorism that could be invoked based on political beliefs. Chief Justice Roberts, the water elder, Chief Justice Roberts. Creating a new federal crime of terrorism that could be invoked based on political beliefs, permitting the U.S. military to be used in civilian law enforcement. So you see, this is why, people think this is a noble thing, or Operation Warp Speed, because people need that V, and there was another point that came to mind. It just slipped my mind. Lost my train of thought. But they thinking that that's a benevolent thing, but really all that's doing is pushing, the people to get used to having the military be involved with the affairs of the people, when they're not supposed to be involved with that at all. All right. So going back, it says, and allowing permanent detention of non-U.S. citizens without judicial review. And guess what this is going to bring? If they put it on the non-immigrants, or the non-citizens of the United States, that's going to trickle over into, the actual citizens. Because the Patriot Act was supposed to be against so-called terrorism of them, different terroristic groups. But now that extends to what? To the actual citizens of the U.S. The Center for National Security Studies said the bill would erode constitutional and statutory due process protections and would authorize the Justice Department to pick and choose crimes to investigate and prosecute based on political beliefs and associations. So let's read that again. The Center for National Security Studies said the bill would erode constitutional and statutory due process protections. That's why habeas corpus out the window. That's why you have the NDAA in there. This is indefinite detention, and all you had to do is say something or be associated or even just walk by someone, that is considered a suspect. Now all of a sudden you caught up into that. So you could see how this draconian legislation is going to lead to this great persecution and insurrection of the people that fear the Lord. Let's get that real quick, but let me finish reading this. Just want to get the precept real quick. And let's go there. All right. So now going back, it says constitutional and statutory due process protection, and would authorize the Justice Department to pick and choose crimes to investigate and prosecute based on political beliefs and association. So if you're associated with anyone that they deem to be a terrorist or whatever the case is, then you're in a jam. And that's what they want. And this is why they have these different agents that no matter how many times we tell them we're not black Hebrew Israelites, they keep pushing that black Hebrew Israelites. Why? Because that is a part of Project Megiddo, which speaks about these so-called white supremacist groups. It speaks about so-called, black militant groups. It also speaks about the black Hebrew Israelites, which we're not black Hebrew Israelites. We're just Hebrew Israelites. But they have to keep that going. That's why you got the vocabs and the different so-called apologists, so-called plantation Christians that are pushing that, so that the people can get that term and get used to hearing that term. Gradualism, inculcation, which inculcation is to impress upon the mind by constant repetition. And this is why you see these things going on, because they get people used to it. They ease people in a little at a time. So it goes on to say here in 2 Ezra 16 and 68, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. So this wrath is still there. And it's kindled over the Israelites. It says, and they shall take certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. Right. So being idle means what? It means stationary, concentrated, bunched up in one. In these different detention centers slash concentration camps, or wherever it is that they're going to put people in. They did it before. And this is scripture. So this is why, these sellouts, they don't touch scriptures like this. What they did at one time was ridicule and mock us back in 2009, 2010. But guess what? They ain't talking about those things that they were talking about so adamantly before. It says, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden underfoot. So even those that help them and that consent to them. You got to understand, the scriptures say, never trust thine enemies. Thy enemy. When this devil has no more need for you, he discards you. Because Jake is under the impression that because they help this devil, somehow they're in a privileged position. And they're demanding, look, I did this for you, so you're going to do this for me. And I say, oh, yeah, really? Next thing you know, you find your monkey ass up in a cage with the same ones that you betrayed. And they might tear your ass limb from limb. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. And this is why the cities are going to be troubled. Because all the legislation is in place. This great persecution is coming. The hour of temptation is coming. I was watching a video that the brother Yashalom from the New York camp just did on some new development in the Neuralink. And they're pushing that stuff hot and heavy, man. Because that is the mark of the beast. Whether it's a microchip implanted in the hand or any part of the body, some type of brain interaction where they actually put some type of contraption in your brain, no matter how big or how small, no matter what the method is, that is all a part of merging man with machine. That is the mark of the beast. This RFID microchip. The number of the beast, 666. It says they shall be like madmen, sparing none. And this is why you have all these different military groups, National Guards, all throughout the U.S. Because they're anticipating something to go down. But still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. And who are the ones that fear the Lord? The Israelites. So those you jakes that buck up against what we're telling you, you're going to be caught up in there too. They're not going to discriminate. They're going by ethnicity. You are a threat to them. We're a threat to them. It says, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. See? Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Yeah, because there's going to be a distinction between those that serve the Lord and those that serve him not. Those that are the chosen and those that are not. But even the chosen are going to have to go through the hellfire, so to speak. Acts 14 and 22. It says, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of the Most High. So by the time Yahushua gets here, we'll be begging. We're begging now. By the time Yahushua gets here, we'll be begging to be out of here. We'll be at the point of exhaustion. That's why Yahushua said when he comes back, shall he find faith on the earth? All right, so going back, it says, hear, O ye my beloved, save the Lord. Behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Remember, Jacob's trouble. But according to some, there ain't going to be no Jacob's trouble. And according to others, Jacob's trouble is gay. I mean, these dudes are waxing worse and worse. Becoming total reprobates. Taking the word of the Lord lightly, as the scriptures speak about. Those idle shepherds that the Lord speaks about. You know, that feed themselves, but they don't feed the flock. They've ripping the skin back off of Jake. Here it is, you're Israelites, and they calling you black, Puerto Rican, Latino. I mean, we use those terms. We say so-called, and we give you your proper nationality according to the scriptures. It says, "Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for the Most High is your guide, and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves." And this is why it says, "Because you have kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation." That's why Yahushai told the disciples, you shall mourn and the world shall rejoice, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. Revelation, the 18th chapter, it says, "Rejoice over you apostles and holy, you prophets and holy apostles," or something along those lines. Because that's what we're supposed to be doing, rejoicing when this devil goes down. Hastening the day. Hence, the year 2021, the year of hastening the coming of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. "Woe be unto them that are bound with their sins and covered with their iniquities, like as a field is covered over with bushes, and the path thereof covered with thorns, that no man may travel through. It is left undressed and is cast into the fire to be consumed therewith." And that fire is that nuclear fire and the fire from the lasers of the chariots. All right. So with that, this has been various topics, 1/22/2021. I pray that you brothers have been edified. The water, for all the comments and precepts and scriptures that you brothers put up. I was able to interact a little more with the comment section today. Barak Te'awa Bashem Yahushai for that. Yep, the brother put Warriors for Yashala transhumanism, and that's pretty much what they're doing, trying to merge man with machine to create the perfect slave. And that's what they're looking for. So with that, I pray that your brothers have been edified. And to the next time I say, Shalom.